Welcome back to the Tongue of the Trees. I'm Elizabeth Ashley, the Secret Healer, and this is what is geranium essential oil good for? And this episode we're talking about the emotional, mental and spiritual aspects of the oil. We've got a lot to get through because not only are we going to talk about the subtle medicine, but we'll also talk a little bit about the safety, and then we'll hop over to Hungary and Gergely will give us some details about how to blend geranium essential oil. So here it is. Let's start with the mental side and emotional side. I always say, I think I probably said it in the last video, if somebody asks me which essential oil I would take with me to a desert island, this beauty, I love geranium. I love geranium plants, both types. Did you know that might not be the same actually in other countries, but we have geraniums in our garden. But the things we call geraniums are pelargoniums, which is what this comes from. And then we also have geraniums like cranesbill and things like that. Beautiful, beautiful plants. My garden is full of all the different types. So, if I might repeat myself now from the last video in a way, because I always think that people say that geranium is poor man's rose, and in a way it is, because it has very similar properties, but it is completely selling it short. I always think about how if you go and buy the knowledge base, I'll talk to you about the knowledge base when I show you the layout in a bit, but it's ruled by Venus, planet Venus. So Venus is beauty and love and money. And if you use it physically, it is gorgeous on the skin, absolutely beautiful. So any kind of skin issues like eczema, but dry skin, it just nourishes it and brings this beautiful Venus visage. It's gorgeous. And that's because of how balancing it is. And so we kind of know about its hormonal balancing properties, but emotionally it's balancing too. And that's a difficult concept to describe because it's so broad, you know. It's, I mean, we can think about it in terms of PMT, can't we? You can say, oh, you know, that's just bringing me back to centre again. But on the days when you feel anxious and the world feels like it's spinning, then geranium brings it back to centre. It's so reassuring. And I said Venus rules it. Venus also rules money and wealth. And if you have money problems, I think it's a particular type of anxiety that is all pervading if you've got no money. In order to do these videos properly, I kind of need to be a bit vulnerable and tell you stuff about analogies from my own life, because I need you to be vulnerable to use the cards, really. And after I had the blood clot in my lungs, I was made redundant from work. I couldn't do my job anymore because I couldn't speak. So how could I do telesales? I used to be a recruitment consultant. How could I do that? So I lost my job. Then my husband was also made redundant, and we were in a town who's in the middle of the cuts, and in our council they cut £90 million out of the budget. So people were being laid off there. There were no jobs, absolutely none. And, you know, the world spun on its axis, and we ended up living in this beautiful place, oddly, which is a very expensive place we would never afford to have bought something. And we ended up here. It was a very strange turn of events. But those days when I didn't want to answer the phone, you know, there was people chasing money on the phone. I certainly didn't want to open the post. I was scared to open the door because bailiffs had turned up. And I could not think straight. There was so much anxiety. And I'd put 2 drops of geranium in my bath and it would just lift away. And I'd lie there and I'd do like a visualization of what I wanted to see change. And it's hard when you're frightened to be able to concentrate and think, right, I'm going to believe that I can attract something different. And what was very strange was I had a checklist of 23 things that my new house had to have for it to be the right house. And I walked in here and the only thing it didn't have was a lemon tree. Everything else was completely right. One of these days I will buy a lemon tree and put it in the greenhouse, I think, but I'm a bit frightened of the frost. But I do think those hours lying in the bath, manifesting and visualizing what I wanted, made such a difference. It's a magical oil. It's so reassuring. You know, when you're so anxious, you close everything off, don't you? You just want your barrier. I don't want to open the door. I don't want to answer the phone. I just don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to anybody because I don't want to have the conversation because potentially it'll make me cry. Geranium goes, just a little bit. Just let them in a little bit. It's okay. You can just a little bit. It's beautiful. I love her. I love her. So on my mental health, I've put lift the weight of the world off your shoulders, particularly good for financial worries. The next thing I've put is magical for autistic meltdowns. So you may or may not know, I was trained by my mum, Jill Bruce, who was one of the founder members of the International Federation of Aromatherapists and one of the first aromatherapists in this country. But also, she ran 2 of the largest, the school that was the largest in the 2 different International Federation and International Society of Professional Aromatherapists. It was affiliated to both. We had a lot of students, and one of my first jobs when I qualified in my advanced diploma was to start marking other people's work. And one of the intakes of students had 3 headmistresses from special schools. And these 3 ladies, I'll never forget it, wrote these incredible case histories. You used to have to write a case history each time, tell us about how you've used geranium oil. Each month would be a study on a different oil, and we worked through 60 oils, so it was a heavy workload. And these 3 ladies wrote about their experiences with autistic children with geranium. And I remember, I'll never forget it, this lady had written about this little boy who used to self-harm, and I'm going to put that down, and he would get so upset he would bang his head against the wall, bang, 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 repetitively. And if you took your eyes off him for a second, several times he had split his head open and covered his t-shirt in blood. It was that bad. And this was completely frustration. He just couldn't articulate what he wanted to say. So they decided that they would just focus on putting 2 drops of geranium on his t-shirt each day for that week when they were studying geranium to see what the difference was. The first day, he banged his head on the wall 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Sat back. Didn't do it again the rest of the day. Didn't do it any day until the last day of the week. And they couldn't work out why it had happened. But when they checked through, nobody had put the geranium on his t-shirt. So immediately gave him the bottle, and he sat there like this. Put it down. Carried on building his blocks. Unbelievable. All 3 stories were similar. That the geranium had completely broken down this frustration meltdown for these autistic children, and these were profoundly poorly boys. They were all boys. It's funny how it's so much more predominant in boys than it is in girls, isn't it? So if you have an autistic child, or if you are just feeling very, very frustrated, there's your baby. There's your baby. So we have, back to the keyword, equilibrium. I think we've explained that on all the different levels, haven't we? I've also put take comfort in the plan. And you know, when I was talking about lying in the bed and manifesting, I kind of knew that I wasn't supposed to be where I was supposed to be. I was doing ghostwriting. I wasn't doing any aromatherapy ghostwriting then. I was writing books about cheesecakes. And it was shifting. When we moved over here, there was a definite energetic shift that made me aware that I needed to be concentrating on my essential oils again. But all of the time, I was aware that this was awful. What was happening was awful, unimaginably awful. But there was a reason for it. And now I still couldn't articulate what the reason was for it, but I can tell you my life was better for it, even though it was awful. And it says seeing beauty in the mysteries. That's very Venus. No, I couldn't have orchestrated that. I would never have had the courage to orchestrate that shift, to just give up my job, give up his job, and just up and move somewhere. But it was the right thing, and the universe manufactured it, definitely. You can see that when you're using geranium. So again, if I can think of a way of helping you sell it, let's have a look. I do think, going back to Rhiannon Lewis's thing of how does that make you feel? Oh, it makes you feel pretty and beautiful and Venus-like is the first thing. You can feel it opening the heart chakra as well. You know, in the knowledge base later, we're going to talk about the heart chakra. We talk a lot about heart chakra medicine. You can definitely feel it, you know, that shift of love. Where is geranium in my book? I don't know. Oh, I think it's in the aromats. It's definitely easier when you've got the card in front of you. I don't know where it's gone. Oh, it's under rough for rose geranium, isn't it? I'm not making this look easy, am I? I should have put the card in front of me. Rose geranium. Yes. So if I'm going to pick something out of the knowledge base for you, I can tell you how it tonifies yin. So there's a big lecture on yin in the knowledge base. And if we think about the yang and the yin and the yang, so it's kind of like it goes together in a circle, doesn't it, with like a wavy thing in the middle. And actually the thing that people don't notice is you've got your black side and your white side, but on both sides, on your black you've got a little white circle, on the white you have a little black circle. So there is yin in the yang and yang in the yin. The yin is the soft, passive quality. It's the female and receptive quality. So when we're talking about how it brings about yin, it brings about this softness and this passiveness to how you're encountering these challenges that we've been talking about. But it also makes you gentler, makes you relax more. If you think that yang is the hard, active element, gentler, relaxed, calm. It also works on the water element in Chinese medicine. And I've mentioned in several things how the water element is able to see its way through obstacles. Yeah, it's the stone in the river. The water just goes round it, doesn't it? Yeah, you see how we can create this passive way of just going with the flow. If that's not a water comment, I don't know what is. So this book will help you to access the knowledge base, But in terms of selling the essential oil, I think what you're trying to tap into really is the feminine aspect of the person, but also how they're dealing with worry and how they're dealing with challenges, and being able to see them more hopefully, and be able to see through how the challenges riding out in their life. So next will be the slides, then I will come back with the safety for you. No, wrong. Next will be the slides, then I'll show you the oils, the cards in a spread, and show you some of the poems that are in the spread, and tell you more about the knowledge base. Then I'll tell you about the safety. I'm going to run through a quick layout for you to show you the different cards. Now, one of the things that we're not going to tell you in this video, in these videos, is the poem that goes with the cards. But for this layout, we will read them to you just so that you get a chance to sort of feel how the different poems look. So I thought I'd show you the cards. As you can see, lovely little box. I'll show you the other side. Boring stuff, except for cool stuff what I read. Okay, so if we open it up, we can see that the cards just have one logo on, and that is because these originally were Gergely's cards. He's been selling these for a long time in Hungary. Mostly they've been bought by kinesiologists, interestingly enough. They've been doing the energy work with them. They haven't got any aromatherapy background, but they've been able to tap into the energetics of the oils to be able to move emotional blockages. So let's show you. So these come out nice and easy because we've got beautiful little ribbons. And let's get rid of that. So if I said to the cards, what energy do I need? What oils will help me do the best job with these videos? Let's have a... Now, my friend Belinda used these the other day, and she does have a habit of shuffling them the wrong way. So we'll have to hope that they're all the way right up. I'm not doing a good job of keeping them that way. So let's have a look. What do I need to do a great job? So I think, it's up to you how you do it, but I think cut it 3 ways, cut it back. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So first 3 cards off the top. Cedarwood Virginian. I'll tell you why I'm laughing at that in a minute. Got rose and lavender. That's a beautiful blend, isn't it? Reason why I was laughing about a Cedarwood Virginian is when Gergely and I came to do the notes of all the different cards, we both went, oh, we've done these cards for Cedarwood Virginian and I don't really know how to explain them differently. And because I was doing lots of editing work, I went, oh, just leave it. So yesterday I did a meditation with Cedarwood Virginian and got the most beautiful work out of it. So you must tap into that tomorrow, have a listen to that video and see it was really different stuff that came out. So let's have a look. So if we go to the book, we can see that there's a brown streak on cedarwood, and that tells us it's the woods. So we find the woods. Slowly but surely we find the woods. At the back. Okay, so I'm going to use the other cards just to cover up the other pages, because you know what? Sooner or later you're going to have to pay me for something. So, Cedarwood Virginian. Actually, I'll show you this, but I'll read it to you because I'm hoping that it doesn't turn back to front on you, but it may well do. So, Cedarwood Virginian says, hold strong. Don't be swayed by the winds of change around you. Stand tall. Resist the temptation to listen as the naysayers surround you. Keep focused on the job you have in hand. Remain strategic. Don't veer from tactics you've planned. Listen intently to information on the breeze. Remain determined. Your courage is what makes me pleased. Hold strong. Don't be swayed by the winds of change around you. Stand tall. Resist the temptation to listen as the naysayers surround you. Keep focused on the job you have in hand. Remain strategic. Don't veer from tactics you've planned. Listen intently to information on the breeze. Remain determined. Your courage is what makes me pleased. And I'd forgotten, I stopped halfway through because I'd forgotten this is the only one that went like around. It kept repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And that taps in beautifully to the determination, doesn't it? I'm keeping on reminding you. I'm keeping on reminding you. I'm keeping on reminding you. So, and actually, definitely watch the video on Cedarwood, Virginia, because you'll see just how spooky that is when you see the meditation work I did. Now, you'll also see on here at the bottom of the page, there's the energetics. Now, we're not going to talk about these energetics at all in the video. You might want to go and buy our knowledge base. Now, the knowledge base is completely based on this, and it is a set of lessons on each of the aspects. So, middle to base. You're going to hear about that today when Gergely does his blending. So, that's there. It also vibrates on the throat chakra. So what does that mean? Within the knowledge base, there is a complete set of information about the different chakras. We do as a lecture on each different chakra, how it affects on the emotional body, how it affects the physical body, how it affects the mental and spiritual bodies, and how that's working. So when we're looking at the knowledge base, this information here describes how the energies move through the system. What energy shift has taken place that we are getting these different physical problems and mental issues. So we can see that Cedarwood, Virginia operates on the water element and the earth element. And again, in the knowledge base, there's a complete section about, we talk about the about half an hour about the water element, then again about half an hour for the earth element, metal, fire, and whatever the other one is, gone out of my head. And then here we can see Sagittarius. Now, so that tells us that what planetary rulership it comes under. This is medical astrology, and this is actually how I see the different energetics playing out. Some people see it through the Ayurvedic, some people see it through Chinese medicine. This is always the lens I see it through. And usually we'll talk about how it's ruled by the moon or the sun or Saturn and the different trends that we see out. And when we look at an archetype like that, it's like, Jade Schutz always says, it's like a metaphor, and that's a great analogy of how you can see the thread playing out right across the medicine. And so you can see that Cedarwood, Virginia is Sagittarius. So in the knowledge base, we talk about the different signs and planets and also the different houses. If I remember right, Angelica, for example, falls under the Pisces, Aries cusp. So that's really quite a difficult one to understand. There's a whole lesson about the Pisces, Aries cusp. And then, again, Chinese medicine, it nourishes yin. What does that mean? What does it mean? It calms Shen. Shen is an interesting phenomenon all in its own right. It's the consciousness, our mental faculties, our imagination, our emotions, God with a small g, God with a big G. All of those aspects is a complete lesson about Shen and how the essential oils can affect it and change that to move the energy. And then we can see increases Pitta, reduces Vata, balances Kapha. So it's interesting, actually. I do know at the moment all of my oils tend to come out with earth energy. It's quite interesting hearing me do the earth energy lecture because it's entirely about the challenges I am facing at the moment. But if you are somebody who sells essential oils and you're looking for a way in all of the time. Right, you're talking to the person at the school gate, for example, and you can see, you know, she seems a healthy girl, to be honest. She's loving a kid. She seems happy. Imagine somebody who's got a really sing-song voice all the time. Oh, my darling, how did you get on today? Was it lovely? I know. And then child walks off. How are you? To everybody. If that sing-song voice never quite relents, then you can imagine that there's an earth energy imbalance. So any oils that fall under earth energy are good ones to sell. So yeah, if you are interested in learning more about that, ways in, just kind of being able to see, talking to somebody, what might be clues of what's going on of that energetic shift, then head over the knowledge base to have a look at that. So what was our next card? It was Rose, wasn't it? Queen of Roses, as you know. I do love my roses. Let's have a look. So the flowers, I think, are at the front of the book, if I remember rightly. Beautiful pink. Oh, they're both flowers, aren't they? So rose, rose, rose. Damask rose. I was thinking we'd miss Rose out, but it's not under Duff for Rose. It's under, sorry, it's not Rough for Rose. It's Duff for Damask rose. I remember writing this one, actually. This is quite sad. So it says, standing by your graveside or sobbing into your pillow. I know your pain. On the days when you feel lonely, worried or sad, I know your pain. Through the nights where sleep seems far away and you feel like you might break, amidst the anger, the confusion and desolation, I feel your pain. For I was there, remember, when you smelled the roses of their love as your fingertips stroked my petals and tried to avoid the prick of thorn. I felt your hopes, your fears, your joy of deep connection. I ensnared it in my scent to help conjure that affection. In my fragrance, remember hope. Let my aroma you complete. May scent of celebration heal you, calm you and help you sleep. For through me you are never alone, always loved and open to give and receive more. Smell me, open up and feel safe to feel love once more. Now I anticipate that these will be different for everybody, but that's entirely my dad talking to me. I feel quite choked up reading that, actually. When he died, he gave me a rose bush. My cousin works for a rose bush company, David Austin Roses. I'm sure you've heard of them. He's quite a senior manager there, and Dad arranged for a rose called Noble Anthony to be given to me and my sisters at the funeral. So I go and sit and talk to the rose bush. That's a great reminder that my dad's with me today. So that actually, Dad, that really helps. Thank you. So let's have a look at the energetics. We can see middle heart chakra, obviously. Water. Now, again, as I say, in the knowledge base, there is a much bigger lecture on water, but the energy of water is how it can flow around any obstacle and find a way to fill the space. So that's great. That's lovely. And Venus is obviously the planet of love, but there's lots more to do with beauty and money, actually. There's an interesting lecture on Venus. I like talking about Venus. Balance is Vata, Pitta and Kapha. If you don't know, Vata is very drying, Pitta is hot and fiery and moist, and Kapha is sluggish. So it brings it all into alignment. But in the knowledge base, as I say, different lectures on each of those. So it nourishes the blood. Well, I've got funny blood, actually, so that's useful to know, Dad. Thank you. Yin and essence. So yin is the feminine aspect. It's very gentle and passive and receptive, and it harmonizes the heart and Shen. We just talked about Shen. So we're going to put all these in a blend in a minute. And so last but not least, the cards have told me that I should go for lavender, which I guess is probably just over the page. Still in the pinks, as you can see. Oh, I remember this one too. Cover them up, cover them up. Can you see? There we go. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When you breathe me, dilly dilly, softly you dream. Anger and grief, dilly dilly, softly drift by. Worries and hurts, dilly dilly, kiss them goodbye. When you feel tense, dilly dilly, look for the bees. See how they buzz, dilly dilly, resting with ease. Learn from their hum, dilly dilly, for they all know. Learning to rest, dilly dilly, helps you to grow. Breathe in the scent, dilly dilly, lavender's light. Calm your stressed mind, honey, honey, surrender the fight. Release cares and worries, dilly dilly, I help you to see. Life is so good, dilly dilly, just let it be. Okay, I'm going to let them flow, not force them. This helps, this really helps, you know. I've got to tell you, when I was helping Gerglay do this, he was sending me his notes, and every time they came across it, I was like, oh my goodness, I've got to do the cards. These are really hard. Didn't like my poems at all. Really found them difficult to do, and really I just wanted to be writing my Melissa book, which I kind of still do, but I'm feeling a bit happier. Now I've got the cards in my hands and I can see them because they really help. Honestly, they really, really help. So, and of course I might be biased because it's my words talking back to me, but hearing the plants and seeing it written down, it's very, very helpful. So, actually I've probably skipped the most valuable part of the process for speed. But when you turn out your cards, if you have got the oils, I would sit and breathe the oil as you read the poem. And that's very difficult to do on this camera like this, but because then you will really hear, you'll have that connection with the plant. It will open it up to you. So top to middle note, as I say, Gerglay's going to talk to us about the blending. Water, we've just talked about how that finds ways, effortlessly finds gaps to do things, doesn't force it, just gets around any obstacle. Heart chakra again. Mercury, communication, data, information. Yeah, that's very mercurial medicine. We'll talk about that. I know there's a very interesting lecture about Mercury. I originally wrote the Mercury ropes for the pain practitioner program. And so these are quite detailed lectures, about half an hour long, the medical astrology ones, because of course that's my passion. Neutral to cool is the action. Yeah, cooling like the roses. Activates chi. Now again, we'll talk about chi in the knowledge base, but basically it's the life force. And you know how we said we talked about Shen? Well, if Shen doesn't have adequate chi forcing it through, then it becomes disrupted. And I always think about it feeling like you're treading water. So the activation of chi calms Shen or nourishes Shen or raises Shen, depending on which essential oil it is. It aggravates Vata. So yes, this is one of my favourite nags. So the world tells you to put lavender essential oil into every massage oil, into your moisturiser, into your bath. So it aggravates Vata. People, it will dry you out. That is how you get dry skin. Aggravates Vata, makes you a bit vapid, a bit dreamy. So all of the time you're like, you know, like the dreamers that wander around on a cloud. If you're not careful, too much lavender makes you that. Pacifies kapha. So it stops you feeling sluggish, stops you feeling heavy. It's not really directly indicated for constipation, but that shift of energy through kapha would release not only constipation, but congestion in the sinuses. And pacifies pitta. Well, pitta is hot, so it's calming. It reduces inflammation. Anything that's red, hot, angry, it'll calm it down. So there we go. So first, I've got my smelly stick. And really, this is only because then I can stick it down my top and you won't be able to see it. So we could use aroma pendants, we could use massage oil, sniffy sticks, whatever. This is just what works for me, and that's the most important thing, that it's the thing that works for you. So cedarwood Virginian is a fast oil, if I remember rightly, so this is quite a thin distillation. Ooh. And then we'll mop up everything off the table. Dip it up, wipe it up. Oh, it's so beautiful, it's smoky. It's beautiful, and I can tell you the lecture is about tapping into your ancestral line, and given that my ancestral line is full of wizards and witches, that's very helpful. Lots of plant healers coming to my aid. So a bit of lavender. Warm the bottle. You'll notice I cover the thing. It's not because I'm covering the labels, although it's because I can't be bothered going, don't ask me which oils I use, but it's more because it's very cold in this shed, so things get stiff, especially myrrh. Goodness me, when we come to do the myrrh video, I have to warm it up 3 weeks before. And then beautiful, beautiful rose. Look at the colour of that, beautiful. It's my favourite bit, you know, was it waiting for it to come out, just seeing the colour. Have I got the nerve to let it drop? I have. Go on, mix, 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 blend. You know, whenever I try and do videos, I always want to have the image of oils mixing, and it nobody ever quite videos that effectively. I think it would be beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness, that is sheer heaven. Just beautiful. So yeah, if you obviously want to buy the cards, there's a link underneath that tells you where to get them from. But also, if you want to use the knowledge base, there's a link through to that too. And goodness me, when you start to smell that and you feel all the knowledge base opening up, all the different shifts in the body and how they move and how they're executing through the physical body, it's really extraordinary. It's a whole new layer to plant medicine. So there we go. That is how to do the blending. Can't wait for you to watch Gerdlo talk about proper blending in a minute. Did you enjoy the spread? It was lovely to see the rose, wasn't it? That's very well connected to the geranium, isn't it? Poor man's rose and rich lady's rose together. I got them both all in one day. And incidentally, I do have my blend somewhere. Oh, wait. Work it then. It's stunning. It's really stunning, that blend. And it is making me feel so much more confident and reassured about doing these videos. I'll stick it back down in the brasket. Right, safety. Oh, geranium, really, you can go to sleep. It's so easy to use. No drug interactions. No real problem with skin sensitivity. All I would say to you is, if you have really red hair and you happen to have a very volatile skin with lots of eczema, just go carefully with it. I've seen it a couple of times where it's caused an eczema flare-up, but for the most part it would be the oil I would choose to treat eczema. So just be careful of that. That would be the only sort of one contraindication I would say. In terms of maximum dilution, we are the slide tells you 17.5%, which is Tisserand's advisory. I would say if you were using it for aromatherapy, that is way too high. Come right down to 3%. It's quite a nauseating oil in large amounts. Notice how I had to put it down because it's so sweet. We don't want too much sweetness. We'll get diabetes. So don't go as high as that. 3% is fine. Oh, that's frankincense. Wrong bottle. I really should tidy up, shouldn't I? So 3%, just in case you haven't watched the other videos. If you use a teaspoon of carrier oil, works out as around about 20 drops of carrier per mil. So a teaspoon, 5 mil, will give you 100 drops of carrier. 3% dilution into a teaspoon is 3 drops of essential oil. If you're going to treat children, perhaps for eczema, for example, or if you've got a worrier, or if you have got an autistic child that you want to work with, I would only use 1%. So 1 drop in your teaspoon will be completely adequate. Is it safe in safety? Yep, completely safe. I would same warning as I've said on all of the videos. Wouldn't use any essential oils till after 16 weeks of pregnancy, but yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful oil. In this situation as well, I had to stop using rose oil on my skin when I was pregnant because rose is contraindicated during pregnancy. To be fair, there's small amounts you would use in a face cream, but I think the more you know about aromatherapy, the more you worry about stuff, right? So I decided, no, I'm not going to use rose. I don't want to be stimulating my uterus. So, but my skin did get very dry. And so I started using geranium on my skin. Beautiful. Cat and dog. Can't see any reason why cat and dog wouldn't like it. It's not high in phenols. It's not going to cause the cat any problems. Yeah, fine. Just the same warning as every other time. If you're using it in the diffuser, just watch. Just watch. Do they look like they don't like it? Same as anything else. I don't like celery. No reason for it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good vegetable to put in your body. I just don't like it, and that's the same. I'm sure, you know, some people don't like geranium. Some dogs don't like geranium. Just before we go any further, I did promise you in the first video that I would tell you how to get the book for free. Now, obviously the safety that we've talked about has all come from Robert Tisserand's fantastic book from 2013. But I drew on that to do this book. So if you want quick reminders of what oil does what on the physical body and basic safety, then hop on over to Amazon or to iTunes or any good ebook provider. Pop my name in, The Secret Healer, Elizabeth Ashley, and it should come up as a free download for you. It's the complete guide of clinical aromatherapy and essential oils for the physical body. And I have regretted calling it such a long title ever since I wrote it. The amount of times I've had to write that, it's long. So yes, pop on over. You can download that for free.
Hello, this is Gary again, and this time I have another card in my hands, and today I'm going to talk to you about geranium, and especially rose geranium, and the keyword is equilibrium. And look at that plant. It is not only looks marvelous, it doesn't only look marvelous, but it also smells marvelous. And I have a story again to tell you. I was working in Naples, Italy, when I was about 23 years old after completing university at linguistics major. In fact, I became an English teacher. And when I was down in Naples, and especially, if I want to make it a little more precise, it wasn't Naples, it was an adjacent city called Pozzuoli. Every morning I was working in a campsite, and every morning after giving out breakfast and sorting things out, that was my chores, I walked down to the port. And the way to the port was from the heights above the city, and then walking down the road there the roads. The road had these. Every house had like a stone wall, which was built of sandstone, and then because of the salty air, because the sea is just next door, these bricks started like fudging off, like sort of like perking off the sand, and in between the bricks there were rose geraniums growing. So every day that I was walking down on this road, I sort of smudged the leaves of geranium and smelled it, and immediately I felt sort of like I felt tranquility, and I felt balanced, and hence the keyword we use, equilibrium, which means balance. Okay, let's talk about geranium as an essential oil and blending. It is definitely a middle note. If you want to know a little more about geranium, let's say that geranium grows many parts of the world, but the best geranium oil comes probably from the Reunion Islands. And if you ask people who do botanical perfumery or any other perfumery, or even aromatherapists would probably tell you that the best oil comes from the Reunion Islands, and then sometimes they also call the best oil from these islands called the bourbon geranium. And if you already watched my vetiver video, that I mentioned the word bourbon. Bourbon because it represents wealth, it represents beauty. So that's why bourbon geranium is one of the best and more luscious oils. So when it comes to blending, what does geranium blends well with? Well, it blends well with, I would say, most of the essential oils, but particularly with bergamots, lavender, some of the florals, other florals like rose, neroli, but you could also mention jasmine, and also some of the woody essential oils like sandalwood, or even like cypress, and some of the other citruses besides bergamot like sweet orange, or even lemon, or lime. That's geranium lime. That's an exquisite composition. And some of the spices like clove. And how would I describe the aroma? It is a very complex aroma, but I could describe it as sweet. I could describe it a little bit green, definitely radiance. It is such a radiant oil. Also definitely floral, because it's a floral note. And then also maybe use the word rosy. Well, not far from the name, rose geranium, right? Let's look at a couple of blends that I would recommend you to use or try in blending. There could be one calming blend in which I would use, obviously, rose geranium. I could add a little bit of Roman chamomile and a hint of lavender, and that creates just a beautiful blend. Let's look at another blend. Many women suffer from PMS symptoms, so it's a great oil for PMS symptoms and alleviating PMS symptoms. And why not try this blend? Geranium, add a little bit of clary sage plus lavender, and just top it up with sweet orange. Try it. And I'll see you in my next video, and hope that I can give you some more useful information on other essential oils. Happy blending. See you next time.
Absolutely loved that, Gergley. Wasn't that lovely? I really enjoyed watching that. It's so nice to see somebody else's ideas of what to blend together. A couple of those blends I would never have thought of, so I'm excited to have a go. So we're nearly at the end. Just want to very quickly tell you a little bit about the people we've chosen to sell our oils for us. Fragrant Earth are the first company to support us. They're based in Glastonbury, which is the most mystical of places in England. And they have been operating as an essential oil supplier for over 40 years. They supply some of the most beautiful skincare houses in the world, really. When you go into their showroom and you see the places that have used their oils, you realise what good quality products they have, and they very kindly agreed to distribute the Tongues of the Trees cards for us. If you have a look in the below, you'll see a link to buy them. What I'd also say to you is, if we have made you fall in love with this essential oil, they can also send that out to you, and they are beautiful, beautiful oils. And of course you'll save yourself some shipping too, probably. What I will say is, just for transparency, Gagla and I will earn a commission off that sale. So if you decide to buy from that, not only do you get yourself a beautiful oil, it's a lovely way to say thank you to us for the information that we've given you. But hopefully, most important, get your Tongue of the Trees cards. You will not find a more satisfying way of using the essential oils. So thank you for being with us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Dexter's going to tell you how in a moment. And hopefully we'll see you on the next video.
You get your phone and turn it this way up, and then there's a little red subscribe button. Turn it grey by clicking it, and then there's a little bell. Click that and press all at the bottom of your phone or tablet or computer. It'll say you will receive all notifications, and then there's a little hand with a thumbs up. Click that, it'll turn it blue and it says added to your liked videos, and there will be comments, and if you want to, you can send a comment and say like hi's to Mum and Gergely, and then the link to the next video will be in the description below underneath the video. So bye.